And welcome back to After Further Review with Coach Heist Northern. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Been doing some ripping and running. My dad been in town for the last few days and weekends off and on following the Bridge and Bass football team. And like I said, they lost to Duncanville a little over a week ago, so he decided to hang around for the holidays. And look, almost every morning I could count on a phone call about 7:30 with that joker asking what we got to do today or what you need help with or what your wife need help with or something like that. But like I say, man, it's a blessing to have your dad around at almost 80 years old still being able to function and do some things. Like I say, sometimes it's, man, I got to find something for him to do, and other times he going to find something to do, and he going to do it his way. Hey, that joker don't care nothing about directions. He just want to do it.
Yes, sir. Embrace that, man. And look, they call it that old mother wit, man. You better sit back and learn something.
Hey, man, look, this is no lie. And I tell my son, it's amazing how much smarter my dad has gotten now that I got older. It's one of them, he always knew what he was talking about things. Didn't have a lot of words, but that was the way he was going to do it, or he was going to tell you how to do it and expect it to be done that way. So it's good. It's funny at the same time, but it's good to ask and then him still be able to tell me almost like, I remember we used to do it like this, or, hey, let's try this. And a lot of times his way work, even we got 3 pages of directions, and he say, let's try this, and it works out. So I like to say, man, I'm blessed to have him around, still being able to go hunting with me. He ain't gonna get in no boat with me anymore, but we'll walk through the woods and have a good time talking about the old game wardens that they used to have to deal with, or how to cook something, or how to skin something, and all that kind of stuff. So, man, it really is a blessing to have him around to bounce ideas off of and have him help me do some stuff.
Yes, sir. Now, Coach, he still got a pretty good shot, man?
Oh, yeah. Hey, man, look, I'm going to tell you this story. So he goes hunting a lot in North Louisiana, and one of his buddies gave him a pack of bullets, and he said, man, I don't like these bullets because I have to still track the deer. My dad used some of his bullets, and look, I guess that old Vietnam or South Louisiana came out of. Hey, he done got him a couple of them, and it ain't no looking for him. He know exactly where they at when he shoots. So he still got a good old eye. And I tell you what, you better not walk in the woods behind him, because he walks through there like a bulldozer. We laugh. My son especially laughs because them limbs will pop back at you in the face, and spider webs and all that kind of stuff don't matter to him.
I know that's right. They got to get her done for real, right?
Hey, yeah, man. He a bulldozer, but like I say, it's good. Like, and look, when we go home, that is the original Coach Northern. So when people ask about Coach Northern, they have to ask, are you talking about my daddy? Or I have to ask, are they talking about me? Or are they talking about my brother? Because my brother coached at a high school in the Baton Rouge area. So they say when they say Northern and somebody say, I know Coach Northern, you still have to ask which one are you talking about.
I know that's right. And you talking about getting it done and being efficient. What about them Jackson State Tigers' past performance, man?
Hey, man, look. So we were sitting in the garage. We were doing some work. So it was myself, Adam, and my dad watching the game on the TV in the garage instead of the house. And, man, we had a good time sitting there. And a lot of people might not enjoy that game, but I tell you what, I love the way Jackson State defense got after them boys, because the question all week was South Carolina State offense this, South Carolina State offense that. And I even got caught up in a little bit of the South Carolina State offense because I saw them play against North Carolina Central. I saw some of the game against Morgan. Those are 2 pretty good defenses. And they put some numbers up, but Jackson State defensive line put on the show. You never really got a chance to see how good Jackson secondary was in some instances, because the defensive line and that linebacking crew got after. Now, Jackson State defensive backs reaped the benefits with a couple of interceptions because they were getting so much pressure on South Carolina State quarterback. And I think that rust of him not playing the last couple games because of injury, and then they had the long layoff. And I said that their timing may be off of a passing offense as opposed to a running offense when you had that time off. So it sort of played out the way I expected. I still did expect South Carolina State to eventually get a couple of their receivers going, but Jackson State defensive line said, nah, man. And I think those, listening to the coaches and the players talk after the game, I think they took that challenge personal of how much people were talking about South Carolina State's offense.
Right. And well, the same thing that we said was a curse could be a blessing. We were saying for years that the MEAC, having that long time off, a chance to readjust and add some new wrinkles. The SWAC opponent coming in, beat, battered, and bruised. And this was a matter of just mental toughness and pure domination from what I experienced through Jackson State from start to finish, Coach. And it really could have been and should have been, depending on who you ask, 28-0 at the half with a couple of touchdowns that were called back.
And that's what I was saying. And the penalties, they wasn't bad penalties where you think, oh, yeah, they had to call it. It was almost one of those, you could call it if you want to. One of them, I think, didn't have any, it wasn't going to make a difference in the play at all. One of them, you could say, yeah, but, you sort of, if you're a South Carolina State fan, you say, yeah, that's holding. If you're a Jackson State fan, you're probably saying, yeah, I've seen worse not get called. But at the end of the day, it was a well-executed game. And you got to tip your hat to them jokers to go pretty much, if you say you take away the Grambling game, undefeated in SWAC play, beating Southern twice, beating Alcorn, and going to Atlanta and finally getting that monkey off your back after I don't know how many years of postseason play without if you don't count the championship game, without a win. So that was big for the program. And then to have one of your own as the head coach of your program after Coach Sanders left to win it, I think that probably, like they say, icing on the cake, that's probably icing and a couple scoops of ice cream on top of the cake to have one of your own as the leader of your program.
No doubt about it. I couldn't have put it any better phrase myself, sir. And I've been saying it. Leave Dion at Colorado. Let Mr. Taylor strut like a rooster, peacock, whatever you want to say. That's his team. That's his signature on that program. He achieved something that Deion Sanders could not achieve, even with all the glam, glitz, and glory that came with him being there. And I think it's irresponsible, and I'm just saying outright foolish for people to be saying that Deion is the reason that Jackson State had this success, because his signature and fingerprints are still on this program. I disagree with that totally.
Yeah, if you think about the guys that left with him, and then to do it in a short period of time, I think that bodes even another feather in Coach Taylor's hat to do it in a short period of time. And like I say, Jackson is one of those places, if they down, they usually don't stay down for very long. If you think about the advantages that they have in the state of Mississippi, where they have pretty good high school football, pretty good junior college football, the city of Jackson, they not like Southern or Florida A&M, where they have another monster across town that they have to compete with for eyes and for talent. And I said this before, if you grow up in Jackson, Mississippi, and you attend some of those Jackson State games as a youngster, you can see yourself growing up and say, I want to play football at Jackson State because they've been good, and they've been good a long time. And I think that means something for the program. But I think, and I'll tell you what, Coach Willie Simmons said this when he took over the Prairie View program. He said, I understand that people want to say this is Coach Northern players or such and such, but he said from the time that I stepped in the door when I signed my contract, that became my team no matter who was left there or who left there, if you understand what I'm saying. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like they say, when they talk about fingerprints and identity all over the program, man, just to see that joker on the sideline, crying the way he was, you could tell it meant something for him, and I guarantee it meant something a lot more to a lot of those D.I. loves in Jackson, Mississippi.
No doubt. Now, technically, as far as I'm concerned, Coach, football college season is over with, but I do know we have a whole bunch of other bowl games of significance that'll be coming up real soon. But I want to play a game with you. We're going to stay in the SWAC. And I need you to take off your Southern glasses, take off your SWAC glasses, take off your Grambling PV glasses, all that. And we're just going to stick in the conference with head coaches. Now, this is a hypothetical game. You could throw in a new name in the street, but in our quote-unquote retreads, I don't like that, but we retreads, but that's what everybody else does. Of the retreads that are available now in our circuit, who would be a good fit at the programs that are looking for head coaches in the SWAC right now?
I'm going to just throw out some names, and I'm not going to say what program I think they'll fit in.
Oh, no, Coach. I can't let you off that easy, man. I need you to, and it's all hypothetical.
Yeah.
What coach would you like to see at any open program based on what you know about them and what you think they could do with or without whatever resources are available?
So we're talking about Prairie View, Mississippi Valley. Who else has an opening?
Alabama A&M.
Alabama A&M. So I would take, if I was Prairie View and I had to pick somebody that's coached in the conference, I would probably start with Broderick Fobbs.
Okay.
At Prairie View. Yeah, and I'm going to have to throw this out. I've been knowing Coach Fobbs since he was in high school. He and my brother went to a couple camps together, and I played against him. He was at Grambling the same time I was playing. He had success at Grambling. He's worked at some Southern Conference school. He was recently at ULM. But I would throw out a name like a Broderick Fobbs at Prairie View. If I was in Mississippi, I would say, let me get, depending on the budget and how they're going to do this thing, I would say bring Coach McNabb back to Mississippi. And and one of the reasons why I would say, and you got to think, because I think they have some different retirement laws in the state of Mississippi. I'm not sure how many years he has, as they say, accrued in the state. But if I was him, I would think about going back home, because, he could almost double dip. He could go to Valley for a few years, flip that thing, get a good bit of the change. So they base it off of your most recent salary, from what I understand. So he could go back and collect some decent dollars from Valley if they really interested in winning. And if I was Alabama A&M, I think I would kick some tires on either. I would see what Reggie Barlow wants to do, even though he's an Alabama State guy. Or there's two other guys that I would kick some tires on. One would be Henry Frazier. The other would be Fred Tice. And Fred Tice was the running back coach. He wasn't my coach. But Fred Tice is with Coach Barlow now. He's the offensive coordinator of the Washington, whatever team they are in the UFL. I would talk to him as well, and he has coached at Alabama A&M, I think, on 2 different occasions. So I would try to see, would he be interested in trying to come to Alabama A&M. So I think I put a name with every school, and that's me as the athletic director on it. Could, because a lot of it is you bring in somebody with some name recognition. You bring in somebody with some ties to the state from a recruiting standpoint, as well as some ties to your university, minus Coach Fobbs having never coached at Prairie View, but he has recruited the Houston, Beaumont area from his time at McNeese and his time at, I want to say when he was at Northwestern State, he and I used to cross paths recruiting that sort of East Texas, going up through Carthage and all that, as well as the Shreveport area. I think, those are some names that I would kick tires on. And all of them have had success as head coaches in the conference. And I think that'll be something that should maybe be thought about. But like I say, I'm a semi-retired football coach that's teaching hunting class in the state of Texas.
I know that's right. Now, that team you're referring to were the Washington Defenders. And I was surprised to hear you mention Henry Frazier. I know he's head coaching now, and he's had great success. I would think at this stage of his career, he would prefer to be in an athletic director's role.
Well, the thing about it, he's a head coach at the school that he's at that doesn't have a athletic director. His athletic director recently passed away during the football season. So if I was that school, knowing what he thinks, I would see if he wants to be my athletic director and head coach, or I would kick the tires and see, does he want to just be an athletic director, or I would let him have some great input on who the next athletic director should be at Virginia State. But that's why I threw his name out, because some guys, they want to be on the sidelines as long as they can, unless an athletic director role comes that's a no-brainer. So that's why I would say he may want to be a head coach at a Division I school again, a head coach at a school with much better facilities than he had when he was at Prairie View, and a head coach with from what I understand, I can't think of the guy's name. I've met him before, the athletic director that's currently at A&M. Bryant. So he is thought of as a strong leader and a guy that can get things done if you want to try to get something done. And man, that city of Huntsville is booming. If you hadn't been up there lately, it's always been sort of on the cutting edge. They have a lot of Alabama A&M alums, as well as a lot of, you take the people that from Alabama that went to school in Georgia and now have moved back to Huntsville. There's a lot of people that look like me and you that have some pull in that city. That's why I think that would be a great fit if you're a head coach in the Huntsville area.
Okay, well, some good choices of Roman out there. Now, the one who I always would have been my ace in the hole, and it makes logical sense when you're talking about McNair coming back to Mississippi. I'd like to see what old Dooley could do at Mississippi.
Yeah, and the thing about it, they can tap into New Orleans. The question would be, how are they going to handle the recruiting budget, or is it going to have to be one of those, look, man, we want you to come to Mississippi Valley, but you almost have to come sight unseen because we don't have money to pay for you to come for 2 days? Or do you say, look, you guys get up on a Saturday morning, come to the campus, see the campus, come to a basketball game, and then leave Sunday morning? Because most official visits start on Friday, and you can go from Friday around noon-ish, bringing your kids on campus, show them a good time Friday night, get them up Saturday, you do your academic meetings and see the campus and see the weight room, locker room facility, the stadium, and then you try to get them to go to a basketball game on Saturday night, and then Sunday morning, that's usually when you sit down with the head coach and the coach will make an offer, and then you yay or nay that offer, or you may say, well, look, I want to go home and talk to my parents. If the parents are not involved, or not say not involved, but if the parents are not on the visit. So a lot of times that's the way it goes on an official visit. But I know some schools that will say, okay, we'll give you $100 of gas to get there and back, and we'll pay for your hotel room for 1 day, and then try to make that work for a whole family or a student athlete and their family to come visit campus on a truly official visit.
Right. Now, I know budgets are always the front line, especially in our territory. I know they said there's no place like being in person, and especially recruiting someone that's, let's say, a little bit further than a tank of gas away from your location. Or there, I know they are, but how effective would a Zoom recruit be like this at this stage?
Well, I think it'll work for some kids that may be on the border, your last minute kid. Just say if you have a kid that on the last week of recruiting, a kid been recruited, or sometimes a kid may have been committed to somebody else, and then that high school coach called and say, look, coach, such and such just got dropped by Alcorn. They was thought they had an offer from Alcorn. They got dropped. Do you guys have any scholarships available? Then what you do, you hurry up and look at that film. Coach, I like what I saw. Let me see the grades. Can we get him in school? That may be a time, but 9 times out of 10, a joker is going to want to at least set foot on campus before he decides that's where I'm going to spend the year. But the other thing is, some kids may say, look, man, especially if they're a transfer portal kid, I'm going to take what's on the table since I already lost out on something, and I'm going to make the best of it for a year. And then after that 1 year, either I'm going to jump back in the portal or I'll sign back up for another year or two or do that, as they say.
Right. Now, Coach, tomato to some, but especially when we talk about this transfer portal in conjunction or comparison to a legit JUCO transfer. A, what's the difference? And then B, what's the probability of one being a little bit stronger than the other?
It depends on the program that they go to for a year, because some schools are known more for taking a project, getting a project ready, in terms of you may take a kid that's a little bit underweight, and then you say, okay, you're going to come to this program, this the way you're going to lift weight. So you may tell, if it's a young guy, I know some schools, they take their redshirt freshman, anybody that's not competing or traveling with the team, they'll work out Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. And some schools, before the team leaves, they'll have all their redshirt freshmen work out on Friday morning. If it's a home game, they'll have all their redshirts that they know not going to play come work out Saturday morning with the strength and conditioning coach. So if you're coming from a program like that, you may say, I'll take that. But the other thing is, if that kid redshirted and is transferring, now if the kid went to a junior college or they are in the true portal, they went somewhere and played as a freshman, I want to see that film and see how do they handle as a 17 or 18-year-old playing against 20 to 23-year-old grown men. So that would be the difference in me if I'm looking at kids in the portal. Did they play or not? And if they didn't play, what do I know about their strength and conditioning program?
Right. And also, to me, it's more of a risk to reach out to that transfer portal because you don't know what damaged goods you could be bringing to contaminate possibly your program when you're trying to build. And it would seem it might be even a little less expensive, I would think, with these NIL propositions that are out there to go to JUCO and build through recruiting route. And every now and then you do grab somebody that's just exceptional for what you need in that transfer portal.
Yes. So this what do you think of your program? How strong is the leadership in your locker room? Because some of those guys, they're going to come in with baggage. I mean, some of those kids, you got to go back and look at their high school program. And what do you know about the high school program? So just say if I'm looking at a kid from Side Woods or Side Ranch or somewhere, I'm going to look at that kid a little bit different from a kid from maybe a Jack Yates or Glen Oaks High School, especially if that kid was a multi-sport athlete where I know he really didn't have a chance to have a very solid off-season of weightlifting or a very strong in-season weightlifting program, and then have a break, just say, between football and track, as opposed to a kid that went from football to basketball to track. So it's a little bit different on what are you getting from a kid and what is the background of those kids. Like you say, when you recruit a kid from Florida and Louisiana, 9 times out of 10, you thinking that kid is going to develop more, in my opinion, than a kid from the state of Texas or from a kid from the state of Oklahoma, where they probably been in strength and conditioning programs since they've been in the 7th grade, depending on where they go to school.
Right. So, as you said, room for growth and improvement.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, a lot of people, I guess, they are aware of it, but don't think about it. Some kids peak at 18 or 19, and that's it.
And I've seen it happen before, where guys that didn't, just say inner city kid, and I don't want to label all of them the same. An inner city kid that doesn't come from the best program, but that joker's a solid athlete, and then he gets to your program, and now that joker realizes when he go to cafeteria, he could eat as much as he wants 3 times a day and don't have to pay anything extra for it. You're going to get some of those kids, when you get them in the two-a-days, they coming in at 175, and in 1 year, that joker is up to 200 or 205, and you could see the traps on. You could see the shoulders looking a little different. You could see the chest looking a little bit different. So you can see what you're getting out of your strength and conditioning program. And I tell people this: the strength and conditioning coach is probably as important of a hire as your offensive and defensive coordinators. And I guarantee if you ask a whole lot of coaches, they'll agree with that sentiment, because the strength and conditioning coach has more access to those guys. The strength and conditioning coach is usually the disciplinarian of your program. You can say all that you want to about the head coach. You got to think, sometimes the strength and conditioning coach is going to see those kids while all your coaches are out on the road recruiting. The strength and conditioning coach is going to see your kids while the head coach is tied up in a meeting on the other side of campus trying to get housing straight, while the head coach is trying to get all the scholarships straight before school starts. That strength and conditioning coach don't have to do nothing but make sure them jokers show up on time, show up with a positive attitude, and get better every day. So that's why I say that hire is as important as your coordinators.
Right. Now, we know that, once again, the limited resources lead to limited opportunities for those additional coaches that we were just discussing. We know there's a need for an offense coordinator, defense coordinator, special teams coordinator, offense, defensive line, DBs, running backs. But sometimes you got guys wearing multiple hats. And we'll throw in this strength and conditioning piece now. If you had 2 available coaching positions, and you can add that position to anywhere that you see that's going to help you get the most advantage, where would you place those 2 positions?
On the field or off the field?
Whatever you see fit, sir. It's going to make your program solid.
I would probably always have me 2 offensive line coaches and 2 defensive line coaches. And I get this from my brother who coached at West Monroe High School, one of the top programs in the state of Louisiana. He said it wasn't that they had the best players, but on every play in practice and pretty much every play in the game, those kids would be told something. So you have more eyes to rep different things. It's not like, just say, if you go to some schools that they only have 1 offensive line coach and maybe a GA, when they go to practice, usually you can work center guard together, guard tackle together. Where if you have 2 offensive line coaches, you can say, all right, you take one side, I'm going to take one side. And then you can work so many reps on those guys, working on the combo blocks, working on the fold blocks, working on the reach block. So it's so many different things that you could work on if you have more people in those spots. And a lot of times, especially in the SWAC, that's where people think we don't play very well, because the offensive line play has let us down in non-conference play. When you're playing against certain schools, that you have to, those rules that the offensive line coach them jokers got to know those rules: 3-man front, 4-man front, the 3 technique to the weak side, 3 technique to the strong side, even front. What are we gonna see? And this is how we gonna block. And if you got numbers to rep that over and over again, I guarantee you'll see the offensive line play take off in the conference, because you're not getting the most athletic guys. You probably getting a big old joker that probably need to lose 30 pounds, or a little tall joker that need to gain 30 pounds 9 times. You're not getting a guy out of high school that's ready to come play college football in the SWAC, and that's my opinion.
Right, and with the risk that's at stake, or with the way things have developed here recently in college athletics, in particular football, and it goes back to Kanye Maynard's comment. It says that we're basically become junior varsity for the Power 4 programs. And some people say those comments were part of his demise, but sometimes the truth is just what it is, right? It's got to be discouraging to be dealing with those type of situations, but in the reality of it, how can we prevent that when we have the limited NIL resources to retain some of these guys that we're actually developing to move on?
Well, I'm glad you added that part about the limited NIL, because I talked to a coach in the conference the other day, and when he told me what their NIL thought process was, I almost laughed in the joker's face when he told me the amount of money that they were talking about for the whole football team. NIL didn't add up to, I'll just say, LSU's backup quarterback was coached by my teammate's brother, the Randall brothers. Both, one played at LSU, one played at Southern. And when he told me how much that joker was getting offered and hadn't really played a lot of college football, I'm like, man, we so far behind the game, it ain't even funny. Well, it is funny, but when you talk about limited NIL, it's really nothing you can do as a coach. I just got word that Southern's freshman quarterback, or one of their freshman quarterbacks, along with Biden, the kid that started the season at Southern. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So 2 of Southern's 3 quarterbacks have entered the transfer portal since the season has been over. Now, one of them, everybody was looking to be the starter because he played a good little bit and got injured. But, as a coach, what do you say to a joker that has a very good chance of being your starting quarterback for the next 3 years because he's only a redshirt freshman and he enters the transfer portal? So when you have things like that happening, it's almost like, man, you just sort of sit around and you still got to hustle, but at the same time you're thinking, where is the loyalty, or, how do I, with no pockets or no money in my pockets, to say, hey man, we want you to stay here, but we can't give you $1,000 a month, $1,500, even $2,000 a month like some of the other schools that have been talking to you or that have been reaching out to you once they saw you play college football. And it may be a Southeastern Louisiana or Nickel State that'll get a kid that you took out of high school that they didn't even want to talk to, Orly, and now they saw you play and they offer you cost of living or a little bit of NIL money, and you say, okay, I'll take a chance on that. So, I mean, it's a tough place for coaches to be in.
Well, I'm about to pull out and get off my lawn statement, old relic acknowledgement, my outdated way of thinking and seeing things, and there's one word that is causing a major hiccup on our level. Well, actually, I'm going to say 2 words to make it sound better, but there's lack of loyalty.
Yeah, and I look at myself. So my freshman year, I played for one coach. They brought a new coach in, and I played baseball my freshman year. So I go to baseball when we had a game, when we had games. When we didn't have baseball games, I went to football practice as a true freshman. So after spring ball is over with, the head coach brings you in for these exit interviews. And the joker say, look, man, I'm going to cut your scholarship. I was on full scholarship. And he says, look, I'm going to cut your scholarship. I'm like, coach, I did everything that was asked of me. He said, yeah. And he told me that his exact words were, I didn't see enough of you in spring football. I'm like, Coach, I was playing baseball, and you knew that. You gave me permission to play baseball. And I got cut. My scholarship got cut. But I still decided to stay and play. Had to get a job. My parents helped me pay for a year. And then when Coach Richardson came in, Coach was like, hey, man, I heard what happened. He said, if you come in and do what you're supposed to do or what I heard you can do, I'll give you your scholarship back. And lo and behold, I stayed at Southern, did what I was supposed to do. Coach Richardson gave me my full scholarship back. So, it's like I could have left and went play. So my plan was if I didn't stay at Southern, I was going to Jackson State or Grambling and just play baseball. I was going to be done with football. But, everything worked out for me. I never did play baseball again at Southern. But at the end of the day, that's why I never cut a kid. When I was the head coach at Prairie View, I never cut a kid's scholarship. Now, if a joker lost it or became ineligible, that was on him. But I never brought a kid in my office that I recruited or that Coach Frazier had recruited and say, look, man, you're not going to play as much as we thought you were. We cutting your scholarship. I never did that to a kid because of what I went through. So different people have different thought process of it, and now I'm almost to the point. If I had to do it all over again, I said this before in another deal, I would probably treat the football program like a business and sort of, I'm not going to say not care about the kids, but almost treat it as it's a transactional business, not I went and sat in this joker's parents' living room and said, look, I'm going to take care of your son no matter what he does, this was 2 deal breakers I had. Putting your hands on a woman and selling drugs. Those were deal breakers. I was like, that's something that you don't have to do. But other than that, even if you use drugs, okay, I got a counselor you can go see. I got this testing program we could put you in, all this other type of stuff. But those were my deal breakers. And I don't know why, and I know why a little bit, but I know why the part about the woman, but the part about selling drugs, I just have no idea why that became a deal breaker for me.
Well, it's just part of what you can deal with and what you can't tolerate. And I think you kind of referred to it, for lack of a better terminology, coaches, not just football, coaches are handcuffed today. And it's really, really a struggle and a strain. And then if you don't have the financial balance necessary to maneuver, and we're not talking about fluff things, we're just talking about things of necessity, things that can truly be impactful, and I've always stated, love the facilities at Prairie View, but it's a lot of waste in my opinion, and I'm going to say this, I'm an alum, a graduate, and all that, support financially, support emotionally, spiritually, all the supports that you can factor. Now, am I on the millionaires list? No, but I'm on the list, right? And so here's the thing. It's what I'm seeing. All of that money spent on a stadium that is used maybe 5 times a year max, 6 times a year, okay, and not excluding or counting practices or whatnot, okay, give me a bigger weight room. Give me a nutritional table, food program that I can build my guys. The stadium's beautiful, and after when it wears out, folks ain't showing up anyway.
Yeah.
If they're not going to show up, let me, I know we can't go back, but I always said we should have kept it at about a 10,000, 12,000 seat max. But you have what you have, and build from there, man. And I'm not gonna get on that soapbox. We've been having a good flow. Let me shut up. Don't laugh at me, Coach. I get frustrated sometimes.
We all do at different things. And the other thing too that I laugh about when we talk about giving money to programs. So I'll just say, so between my wife and I, we give money to Southern University. We give to baseball. We give to the football program. But I do not attach any strings to any money that I give. Like I say, I could easily say, Coach, I'm giving you this money. My son gonna be a senior next year. You know I'm gonna expect a scholarship or something like that. Or, coach, I'm giving you this money. This what I want. Nah, man, do whatever you want.
Right.
I treat that money like I'm giving to the church. Pastor, you do whatever you want with it, as long as it's within the law. So, but a lot of times people that give money is always a expectation. Expectation should be winning and nothing else, nothing personal for you. Now, if coach says,
entitlement.
yeah, if coach say, okay, all my people that gave $10,000, I want to get them a Letterman jacket that look different from everybody else's. So when people see you with that Letterman jacket on, they're going to be like, man, where you got that from? Oh, I gave X amount of dollars to the football program. And some people, for ego purposes, they going to want to give and get a jacket too. But, at the same time, it was no expectations when that money was given. And I think that's where sometimes we get a little bit off. We think, and I hate to say this the way I'm going to say it, we think just because we buy a season ticket, we can tell the head coach anything.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Right. And you know what? In same sentiment, when I give, I don't intrigue, or not intrigue, I don't involve myself. I don't be trying to be the backdoor coach or call them on off duties. No, you do what you do. And in the same breath, because my show has been, earmarked as the doom and gloom or the old angry guy, okay, let me do my job. You do your job.
Yes,
okay?
Sir.
I don't tell you what to do on your job, and I'm supporting you.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do, and you're not supporting me.
Yes.
Am I fussing, Coach?
A little bit, but like I say, when you tell them the truth, jokers can't say too much about it, though. That's my whole thing. In all the different shows that I do, I try to make sure it's never a personal attack or never question the coach's play calling. It is, if I make a criticism, it is something that I see that if push comes, I could tell anybody what I'm saying and why I said it. It's not going to be any malicious. They know I'm not being malicious with what I'm saying, and it's something. And I say, we may be privy to some information that a lot of people are not privy to, because I do go watch practices at different places. Or I can say this, when a lot of times when I go, just say to the front of the neighborhood, to Academy, HEB, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to have on a Prairie View shirt, Southern shirt, or Grambling shirt, maybe Texas Southern every now and then. But when those people from Prairie View see me, they'll ask me questions. Or just the other day, I had a guy that played football at Prairie View. Joker called me Unc. He said, Unc, like, who you know that play? Because everybody don't have a shirt like that. I said, well, I used to coach up there. Then we went into the pluses and minuses of playing football at Prairie View. Some of the problems that he ran into as a student athlete, which I won't go into on air. But, it's and the bad part about it is some of the same things that were happening when I was the head coach are still happening to not just any players, but this guy is a very good football player at Prairie View. So, but it's certain things like that I won't say. And if I get wind of something, I'll let the head coach know, and don't let anybody else know what this kid told. And I may not tell him what particular kid told me, but I'll tell him, hey man, this was going on. And as a coach, we don't know everything, even though people think we should know everything that's going on in the program. It's some things that you are not going to know that are happening with your players. And it may be something as simple as a Joker lunch card not working, his housing, his key not working, the air conditioning not working in the Joker dorm, just stuff like that people don't think about. How does that affect the way a young man performs?
No doubt about it. Well, Coach, we have definitely gone over our allotted time, but it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. So I'm going to give you a chance to get some closing thoughts and comments, man, and we'll get ready to shut this week's segment down.
Man, you know what? It's interesting. Like I said, you started off talking about some of the coaching vacancies in the conference, but man, some of these people, they acting like it's Labor Day Classic weekend. The Joker's real tight with information, boy. I tell you what, it ain't too many rumors or names that's been going on. And then the other thing that some people have to understand, they were like, well, why such and such hadn't hired a coach? Well, in different states, they have different laws with the hiring process. And then just say, if Prairie View A&M University is paying for Coach McDowell's salary, which most of the HBCUs, the school pays the salary, not the booster club. Well, you can't have two head coaches at the same time on the payroll. So that may be a little bit why we drag the hiring process out, because technically you can't have if Coach McDowell's contract ends December 31st, you can't have a guy on payroll unless he agrees to volunteer for X amount of time in that role. So that's a little bit of something a lot of people don't know, why sometimes we take a while. But at the same time, there are a couple of loopholes that you can use, but you can't use them that often. So you can, what some people use to just say, we need a head coach at Prairie View. That head coaching position is vital to the impact of the university or the role of the university. So you can sort of get around that loophole if you use that, but it cannot be used. You can't use that too many times, if you see where I'm coming from. So,
yeah.
But you know, hey, unless you're gonna get some of them Panther fans to donate, I would think the going salary is probably gonna be above 200,000, probably closer to maybe 250 nowadays, depending on where the guy's coming from and all that type of stuff. Unless you're gonna get a couple of your buddies and y'all get $20,000, say, here, new head coach, take this money and come on and start coaching our team, then y'all gonna have to follow some state laws to the T.
Okay, and with that being said, okay, still shouldn't take 90 days, and it still
not
take
90
60 days, and it shouldn't take 60.
No, it
should.
I would say at the most it should be a 2-week process. At the most, that's long.
Okay. Well, we're headed to week 4 now. Okay, so we'll end it on that. Okay, and that's just me talking about my school. I ain't talking about nobody else. Sir. I'm talking about my school. And with that being said, Coach, I appreciate you, man, for your consistency. I appreciate you for your candidness, your straightforwardness. I learn each time we get together. Hopefully you learn a little bit from this old goat's way, and it's just a joy to work with you, man. Professional on and off the air, and I really appreciate you for that, man. I really do. He is Coach Heiss Northern, our football guru. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. I want to encourage you guys to follow me on Twitter X at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to that YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Hit that bell notification. Every time there's something being released, you will be in the loop. And always visit that website, obnradio.com, for our 24-hour streaming content. I've got to go. My time is far spent. So until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.